Let's hope this one's good. Hey everybody, my name is Roger Percorny, and I don't have much to my identity. I mean, sure, you can explain me physically, I'm fat, brown, or whatever. You can also explain that I am a huge fan of hip-hop and music, and I make stupid f***ing tweets. But in terms of video games, there's not much that I could really hold on to, except for stealth. See, I'm a massive fan of stealth games. Ever since I was a little kid, I would toil around in Pandora Tomorrow trying to kill these stupid goons. That game was super brutal, but for some reason, sort of fun to me as a kid, and that, I think, is the start of my sadistic nature. Something about stealth was appealing to me. Maybe it was just the pure idea of sneaking up on a dude while they weren't seeing you, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it had so much openness, true openness in a video game. For example, as a kid, I played a lot of Grand Theft Auto ever since GTA 3 to San Andreas on the PS2. And if you're doing your math correctly, yes, I was very, very young when those games came out. My mom and dad were pretty rad, but I digress. GTA has this massive open world with buildings to explore, cars to steal, people to meet, but the main gameplay is super similar all the time. In terms of gameplay, you've pretty much done everything by the first few hours. That's not a knock on the series, I really do love Grand Theft Auto. There's no alternate gameplay options, you can't stealthily sneak up on someone or really play the game as a sniper. There isn't that much there in terms of the gameplay. Other things, of course, but gameplay, that's where the game finds its limitations. And that's fine for the series. But then I found Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell, for me, was like an eye-opening experience. Even as a kid, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I was able to find 5 different ways, at least, to take out one guard. That, to me, felt like a true sandbox experience. That was impressive. Even as a kid back then, where pretty lights and bright colors really attracted me, that was interesting to me, and that made me keep on going back to the series. So, imagine my realization when I found out about Hitman, a game with all the realizations and ideas behind a stealth game like Splinter Cell, but with disguises. It was the coolest thing ever. It was this new level of stealth that I couldn't even wrap my mind around and made it even more of a puzzle to me. Finding the right disguise, the right weapon, finding the places to hide, the places to go that you won't get caught, mixing disguises with weapons and people. It was such an interesting, almost mix and match that you had to figure out, and that was just a core mechanic of the game. Hitman was on so many levels advanced compared to a lot of stealth games at the time. Its inner workings and its logic was crazy for a game that came out in the PS2 era. It was really next level in a lot of things. I would do this thing where I would purposely try to mess up my run and then just work around it. That's the best part of Hitman, because the game's inner workings are made for you to play it like that. It's made for you to change and adjust on the fly, figure out new ideas, change different outfits, yada yada yada. No matter what you did, there was always a way to get it done. And that's why Hitman was fantastic, and still is, actually. This was only made clearer when Absolution came out. It was the first Xbox 360 PS3 Hitman game fully, and that game is really stellar. I mean, let's be honest here, the story is weird and quirky, and in a lot of places, kinda. But looking past that, the game is everything that Hitman was, but brought into a new generation with a lot of great twists and turns. It had this almost retro and 1950s type feel. It was a true revival of the series done right. So naturally, I was excited around E3 time a few years ago when the new Hitman game was announced. That was super exciting for me. Now I get a new one for the PlayStation 4. Super exciting, right? But a lot of red flags popped up. See, those red flags were the fact that the game is episodic. Yes, a stealth game with absolutely no real story is now episodic. Go figure. I mean, the game itself, when it actually came out, was really fantastic. It was this great mixture of Blood Money and Absolution, this mixture between old and new Hitman ideas melded into one. But I couldn't get over the fact that it was episodic. That was really hindering my experience. As of this month, Square Enix, the owners of IO Interactive, which are the developers of Hitman, have announced their plan to try and sell off the studio somewhere else and basically cutting ties with the Hitman franchise. This is where the problem really stems, because not only does it leave this massive and really accomplished studio in the hands of just the universe, but it also leaves the fate of Hitman up for grabs. As of right now, there are conflicting reports whether Square Enix or IO Interactive get the rights to Hitman. But either way, this is a really situation. So the reason red flags popped up when I heard about the game's episodic content was because it screamed corporate meddling to me. Now, I could be wrong. I feel like there is a possibility that IO Interactive created this idea all by themselves, but I feel like IO Interactive really had little to do with this part of the game. I feel like Square Enix felt like the stealth was going on a decline, and they wanted to make as much money as possible, and they felt episodic was easiest, and it was safest for them to do. If you think that I'm being a conspiracy theorist, look at Final Fantasy VII. Yes, the game that everyone wanted to be remade is finally being remade, but it's episodic. So Square Enix is doing it for Final Fantasy, makes sense that they would try to do it for Hitman. Hitman to me meant a lot. It was my relaxing game. It was the game where I sat down, picked up a controller, and it was able to relax me and also challenge me at the same time. It was a puzzle in video game format, but with guns and assassins and murder, but it was, to me, a puzzle. Trying to figure out where to go, how to do the same levels differently, these were all appealing to me on a mental level, and they kept me stimulated for years upon years, ever since I was a little kid to as of yesterday. And they've kept true to the Hitman legacy. Even through all these changes, they have stayed true to the character and the series, which is so important. I think every long-form franchise has their hiccup titles, but Hitman has really stayed steady. Sure, you might call Absolution a hiccup, but I believe that all of them have been super steady and super consistent, and that is so disappointing, seeing that IO Interactive is now up in the air. I mean, Square Enix, this is for you. You probably thought that Hitman wasn't going to make money, so you cut it and made it into episodic content, and if it didn't succeed then it had no way of succeeding in a $60 retail space. See, Hitman is worth saving, and Hitman deserved to have that real, true release. The numbers don't lie. The games before that did super well. Hitman is a successful property. You look back to Absolution and just keep on going back. Stealth is in every single game now, in pretty much every genre. It has infiltrated everything. But I don't think a lot of games would be the way that they are without Hitman. Now people might be losing their jobs, and fans of the series might be losing one of their favorite characters and series in general, and it's all because of a dumb mistake that Square Enix did, and that sucks. So, if I were you, Square Enix, this is a letter to you. This is what I would do. One is I would reverse my decision. Of course, I know that's not how businesses work. You are a business, you've made your decision, but think about it like this. You have promised them through IO Interactive 3 seasons of Hitman. Hell, don't even make 3 seasons. Make 2 seasons. Fine. Make a second season of these Hitman franchise. And then while you're doing that, have a second team inside of IO Interactive making a fully fledged $60 Hitman release for release in the next 3 years. My rationale behind that is because clearly this whole experiment with episodic content, which made no sense in the first place, did not work out. Give them another chance. Show to them, show to the community, show to the world that IO Interactive isn't the ones at fault here. It was this business model. It was a script. It was a lapse in judgment. Let them show you, Square Enix, that they can still make money. And they can do all that with making more money and keeping core fans together. And B, which I feel like is the more realistic option, is to sell them to someone important. Sell them to someone that will care about the studio. Maybe a Sony. I think Sony's a great choice. Microsoft even. Warner Brothers is a good one. But on a separate note, also give them the rights. Let them have Hitman. Take a percentage deal if you need to, but give them Hitman. They need it. We need it as an industry. We can't have this franchise go to the wayside. We've had too many stealth games screw up lately. For a stealth fan, it's been hard to watch. We need at least one franchise to stay alive for the foreseeable future. In an industry where games and studios are disposable, names in the industry mean less and less now. We need at least a few studios to continue to be around, but also churn out amazing games like IO Interactive has continuously done. they've proved themselves to us as an audience, and we want to keep on supporting them. In my opinion, I feel like you, Square Enix, screwed up. Maybe it was no fault of your own. Maybe you didn't even come up with that episodic idea. Maybe it was all IO Interactive's. I'm open to that narrative. But either way, this is a loss for the industry if IO Interactive goes down. So I plead with you, Square Enix, listen to us, listen to the fans, listen to everyone talking around you. Let them have Hitman. Let them continue this franchise that they've been creating and making and honing for years before they even knew you, before you were even together. We've seen enough casualties in this video game industry in terms of veteran companies and veteran franchises. We need at least one glimmer of hope. Thank you.
I was up late night ballin', counting up hundreds by the thousand. I was up late night ballin', counting up hundreds by the thousand.